Hello, all of my wonderful channel members. I got it right that time. I didn't mess it up and say patrons. I am finally back from break. I hope all of your breaks were as fun as mine were. And so I'm excited to do some behind the scenes videos for you all, starting, of course, with perhaps the song I am most proud of having written, Carol of the Qibli. This one has so much that went into it. I'm just gonna focus on the audio because that's really the important part of the video. I mean, it is a song after all. Um, so yeah, I guess let's just jump right into how I put this thing together. It started back in like September, October, when I woke up one morning and I was making breakfast, and I don't know why, but Carol of the Bells was on my mind. You know, the one that starts with like "Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away," and this just lyrics popped into my head. It was like I was just making breakfast, and then I was like, "What if I sang that about Qibli?" And it was like "Hark how it scales." At first, it was like warm sandy scales. Anyway, we'll come back to that. Clearly convey Qibli is Bay, and I was like, wow, that flows so well if I end it with Qibli is Bay. So then I made that YouTube post, the community post, like months ago. That was like, if I use the word Bay in a video, is that too outdated or is that fine? And most people were like, it's fine. And a couple people knew it was about Qibli, which was really funny. So after I had that, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm making this a song. And the cool part about Carol of the Bells is it was written long enough ago that the music is actually in the public domain. But the lyrics are copywritten by some music producing company in New York. I have no idea why they own the lyrics, but the music itself is public domain. So I knew if I was going to make a video about this song, like a parody of it, I would have to change the lyrics enough so that they're not copyright strikeable. So I was always keeping in mind what the original lyrics to the song are and trying to change them enough so that it wouldn't be an issue, which is why I had to change some of these lyrics to make it like different enough. But after I had that, I like the first set of lyrics, I went through the song. I just got the original lyrics here. It follows a pretty simple rhyme scheme. It's just like A A B B C C D D. So you just like rhyme one line with the next line. And then I just started filling in everything that I think is cool about Qibli and then trying to make it rhyme with itself. And then once I had the lyrics, I got to start making music out of it. And that's going to bring us to our first music making program, MuseScore. If you've never seen MuseScore before, it's a really good program for just putting together sheet music for things. You can edit it, you can add notes and move them up and down and all around and add new ones and stuff. And it's all in this like really nice format, very convenient to use. MuseScore is awesome. I love MuseScore. It's a really good a really good program for writing sheet music. It's not very good for rendering music though, and we're gonna talk more about that later. But once I had the lyrics, then I just got the original sheet music for the song, for the vocals. There's 4 parts. It's like sung as a 4-part choir sort of thing. And I just put all the lyrics in, and this is kind of what it sounds like in the program. It's like, of course, the program can't sing, so it's playing it as if it's a piano. But then you get all the things in, and you start getting all the parts come in as they all sing their things. I just love this song. It's such a good song. But then I also had to change some of the lyrics for the background parts. So like while the soprano line is going through the melody, like the tenor line is going, join us in the Qibli fan club, that sort of thing. So I just wrote some extra lyrics that I thought sounded good and then adjusted it. So originally I had it go in 3 times. Because the song just repeats itself. Once you get through the, like in the original song, the Merry, 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 Merry Christmas, Merry, 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 Merry Christmas. In this one, it's Sunny, Starflight, Glory, Clay, Tsunami, Turtle, Peril, Winter, Moon, and Qibli. then it just kind of repeats itself and goes over again. Originally, I had it 3 times. The first time it was going to go through with only the vocals. The second time it was going to go through with minimal instruments, and then the third time all of the instruments were going to come in. But it just wasn't quite sounding good like that. So I decided to start it off with minimal instruments and then go into full instruments. But while I was in MuseScore, of course, we have all of the vocal music already like composed, already written back in like the 1800s or something. But I knew I wanted music in the background, and I knew I couldn't just use somebody else's music that they composed because they own the rights to that and I don't. So I would need to compose my own. So I just started messing around with music, and that's where we get these like bass cello lines coming in. And in the program, in MuseScore, they sound something like this. So, it sounds okay, but it doesn't sound amazing. But it was good enough for me to like get a sense for what the instruments would be doing, and they're mostly following something like the tenor line or the alto line or one of the harmonies going on in the song, just like shifted down a couple octaves. But there are some parts that I made up, like this part where it goes da 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 da. I just thought that sounded really cool, so I added that in myself. Anyway, after that, then there was like the higher strings when they come in later. So we have this part. And if you've never written music before, I'm not very experienced with it, but it's kind of hard. I don't know my music theory super well. Like, I have some basic understandings of things like keys and chords and that sort of thing. But mostly I was just messing around, trying out different things. I would have an idea for something. Like this part was an idea I had where the high violin part starts going like da 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 da, and I was like, oh well, let's try it and see if it sounds good. And I tried it, and I was like, oh, that sounded nice. I probably went through like 20 or 30 different ideas for different sections, and then ended up keeping the ones that sounded good. And if they didn't sound good, then I threw it out and tried it again. And I would get like friends to come in and help. I'd be like, hey, can you listen to this thing that I've been working on and tell me if it's garbage or not? But once we had gone through all of that and had something that I thought sounded pretty nice together, I knew I needed to render it with better instruments. And that's where the second audio editing program comes in. One really nice feature of MuseScore is that you can take the sheet music that you write and turn it into a MIDI file. A MIDI file is basically just like a computer file that tells a program that's able to work with MIDI files what note to play. And so I exported a MIDI file from this. So I have all of the notes, none of the instruments attached to them, just the notes. And I put that into this program, Cakewalk by BandLab, which is a fantastic program. It's very complicated and confusing. I am very much a beginner at this. There's so many things going on in this program that I have no idea what they do. But I watched a ton of YouTube tutorials and did a lot of experimenting to like figure out sort of how to do it. And I got it working good enough. I would not say I'm an expert in this by any means, but I took the MIDI files. So we have those notes from the other part, and I brought them into this program. And what this program allows me to do is take those notes and then give them instruments to play those notes. So like this is just the bells. So we have notes here that we're telling the computer to play, and then we tell it over here, I want you to play these notes with a bells section. And this is what it sounds like. Which is so cool that you can do that. If you want to, you can change the instrument here. So this is what's called a a VST. It's a plugin. This is the BBC Symphony Orchestra. They went through basically and recorded somebody playing each note, and then they assemble that into a big file that I can use with this program and access and be like, I want you to play this note. And then it actually takes the recording of that note and plays it, which is super cool. So I have the notes here, and if I want to change them to something else, like let's hear what it sounds like if I play this part with an oboe. So like it's the same rhythm, same notes, and now it's just being played with a different instrument, which is so cool that I can do this. And you can do this with any of the ones that are like that it's in the range of. So we could try it with like clarinets, and it sounds entirely different, which is really fun. So anyway, I had it on tubular bells. But that's not the only instrument we had, because we also had, if you remember, the bass ones, and they are lower in the register. They're down here, and they sound something like... yeah, so the interesting thing about the bass is there's, in the BBC Symphony Orchestra anyway, there's two different kinds of ways you can play the notes. You can play them like this, where it goes like dun, 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 or you can play them extended, like blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I think it sounds best if you play both of them at the same time. So I actually had to, let's see if I can find a spot where I'm doing it. Let's go right here. Where I had to have them both playing the same thing on different tracks. So like here's the one where it's just being like plucked. And then here's the one where it's just being like strummed, kind of. And you see like, those are different sounds, and when you play them together it sounds really nice. So I have that, and then we also of course have the high-pitched instrument. Let's see if we can find where that one's playing, doing its thing. This is like the music from Muse Score, and now it's just being played in a different program. It makes it sound a little bit nicer, I think. This is my favorite part. It's so epic. Okay, but then we get them all playing together, and this is like what all of the instruments kind of sound like in tandem. So if you go back and like listen to the song on YouTube, you'll hear all of this happening in the background. One other thing to note in this program is that you can control dynamics, or basically like how loud it's being played down here. So you can see like before this, the string instruments are going at this like constant volume, and then we get to this part and it starts off really quiet and then gets louder and louder and louder as it goes, which just has this really cool like feeling of like build to it. So anyway, that's what's going on there. But then we have the music, we have all the compositions and everything, but we still need the vocal tracks. So after this, I exported all of it, because unfortunately, even though it might sound nice when you export it, all of the different volumes add up, and sometimes they end up peaking, which is like a thing that happens in audio where your volume goes over what the microphone can record, and it just sounds really bad. So that brings us to the third audio editing program we used to put this together, Audacity, which is where I do most of my audio editing usually. So we have, like every instrument basically rendered on its own track, put out here, and then we put it all together, and there's so many of them, as you can see. But like, so like this is one instrument. This is like the extended bass, and this is like the plucked bass. And this was a different version of the pluck bass for the beginning of it. Now, one thing you might notice on these is, like, this one is pretty much, like, this gray bar is very, like, constant the whole way, and then it drops off. But things like this one are not constant. Sometimes they're, like, going down or up or all around. And that's because I'm using this tool to adjust volumes as we go. And this is how I dealt with the peaking. Anytime it's not the full way to the top, like here is it's all the way because it's fine, or like here is all the way because it wasn't an issue with the volume at that point. But sometimes it got too loud and I had to adjust volume, so I went with this tool and I could grab a spot and say like make it quieter here or make it louder here or whatever. And so all of these adjustments that you see are things where I was making it louder or quieter so that it didn't sound bad once it was all rendered together. So we have all of the instruments in here, and all of the instruments are adjusted to make it so that it, you know, isn't being too loud at any one point. And this sounds pretty much exactly like what it sounded like in the other program, with some of the volumes adjusted. Okay. Then we have the vocals. So the vocals were people I found on the internet who were really good at singing. And I reached out to them. I was like, hey, I have a project that I'm working on. I'll pay you some money to sing for it. I'm a graduate student, so I don't have a whole lot of money I can pay you, but here's what I can offer. Are you interested? And some of them were like, oh, I'll pass on this one. And some of them were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let me in on that. So I sent them the lyrics, renditions of their parts, how they were supposed to sing it. And then they went through and they sang it, and all of the singers are just, they're so good. They're so incredible. But this is like, you know, what they sound like on their own.
Clearly convey Qibli's bay. Charismatic, needs no magic. If you feel blue, he will help you.
So that's like the soprano line. Here's our alto line.
Clown always profound, scarred through his skill, barb on his tail. The best in wing, that is his thing in the entire book, Wings of Fire.
And you could hear them singing the harmony there, which is kind of cool. I think this is our tenor, if I'm remembering correctly. Oh, never mind. This was just a different part of the soprano line. Here's our bass.
Drumming, sometimes a clown, always profound, scar through his scale, barb on his tail. The best and wing, that is his thing in the entire book, Wings of Fire.
And I think this one's our tenor.
Join us in the Qibli fan club, the best and wing, that is his thing in the entire book, Wings of Fire.
So good. So good. I don't remember what this is. More alto. So if we put all of these together, here's what the singers sound like without the music. We can go here.
If you feel blue, he will help you. That's who he is, that's how he lives. Plus, he is fun and a brave one. He's what is true, real good brain too. Stylish earrings, super drumming. Sometimes a clown, always profound. Scarred through his tail, barb on his tail. The best and way that is.
And you can see the singers are also being adjusted based on volume. I tried to make the backgrounds a little bit more quiet so that we could get the melody shining through really clearly the whole time. But then finally we have it all coming together. I'm playing at the same time.
Scales, smart city scales, clearly convey Qibli's bay. Charismatic, needs no magic. If you feel blue, he will help you. That's who he is, that's how he lives. Plus, he is fun and a brave one. He's what is true, real good brain too. Stylish earrings, super drumming. Sometimes a clown, always profound. Scarred through his tail, barb on his tail.
So that is how, after 3 months of putting together music, we finally arrived at Girl of the Qibli. Of course, we also had some video editing to do. As you all know, I put out the call for Qibli Christmas themed drawings, and so many amazing artists sent in work for that, so I was able to fill every single second of that video with awesome artwork, and there were so many more that I wanted to include and just didn't have the time to, but yeah, it was a huge project, but I'm just so happy to have been a part of and to see the finished result of. That's honestly what I'm most excited about, because I love Carol of the Bells, I love Qibli, so putting them together was just so much fun to do. But yeah, so that's behind the scenes for Carol of the Qibli. If you have any questions about it, let me know, and I would be happy to answer them. But for now, I hope you enjoy the behind the scenes look, and thank you for being a channel member.